Yo, what is up everybody, it's J the Great, and welcome back to another Naruto reaction video here today. And today we got an iconic video by the great Swagkage that I haven't done yet, but thanks to you guys requesting it, and thanks again for that, we're going to do it here today. And as you can tell by the title, that is Top 5 Naruto Fights. So there are many iconic fights within the Naruto verse that we can talk about for hours, but it's going to be interesting to see what Swag has to say and what his opinion is on the top 5 Naruto fights of all time. I have my own top 5, but I'll save that for after this video. Like I said, I'm very intrigued to see what he has to say. This is definitely an opinion-based kind of video, but I'm sure there are common fights that most of us would say, hey, that's a top 5 fight of all time within the Naruto verse. So let's see what he has to say today. But before we begin, any loves greatly appreciate it. Hit that like button, turn on bell notifications to stay up to date with yours truly. And if you're new and you enjoy and you mess with the kid, make sure to hit that sub button, man, because once you do, become part of the family forever. Let's not waste any more time. Screen. Let's see what Swag has to say today.
I don't really know what to do as an intro for this one because it's kind of self-explanatory. I'm talking about my 5 favorite Naruto fights.
All
So
right.
before I proceed, I have 2 rules. First rule, only 1 fight per character involved. So I'm only picking each character's best fight that they participated in. And this is to keep the list from being dominated by Naruto and Sasuke battles.
Okay.
Second rule, not counting Naruto versus Sasuke, because that was a really good fight. Everybody loves that fight. It's a really obvious choice. So alright, rules are out of the way. Let's get on with the list.
Okay. Conan versus
What an
Obito.
insane fight this is. It's very short, so there's not a whole lot to it. But this fight is so fucking awesome! It starts off very standard, but it eventually evolves into something pretty unique because seeing Conan's paper ninjutsu interact with Obito's ability to pass through objects makes for a really dynamic and unique fight. And just a whole bunch of cool stuff starts happening. She sends a bunch of paper towards Obito and he tries to use Kamui to suck it away, but then there's paper bombs in it and it goes.
It was a pretty cool fight, for sure. I didn't even think of that fight, actually. I'm gonna be honest. But it's a very good fight.
Like, I'm not done yet. And then Conan opens up the ocean and it's all paper bombs. And Obito looks down and it's like, and it like falls down and everything starts blowing up. And Conan's like, yeah, it's gonna blow up for 10 consecutive minutes. You're done. And she's all like, oh yeah, finally. And then Obito's behind her. Then he reveals that under his mask was a second Sharingan that he used for Izanagi. And that was so cool.
That was awesome. Oh, this fight definitely had to be on there. Gaara versus Rock Lee. Iconic.
Gaara versus Rock Lee.
No doubt.
List. If you are a fan of Naruto and you have seen this fight, Gaara versus Rock Lee is one of your favorites. There's so much speed, the hits are brutal and deliberate, and watching the seemingly invincible Gaara slowly come to terms with the fact that he's being overwhelmed is really cool. Not to mention, this fight is where we get introduced to one of the coolest aspects of the entire series, the 8 gates. And the concept
I definitely
is
totally agree.
magnificently in this fight. Overall, great scores here. I
Amazing
love this fight, and so should you.
Madara versus 4th Division.
I guess I'm technically cheating with this entry because Naruto and Sasuke are both in later entries on the list, and Gaara's included, and he was in the fight with Lee. But I think I can count this as an exception, considering the fact that Madara's taking.
I mean, that really wasn't even a fight. That was an ass whooping.
Anyway, not only is this one of the best fights in the series, but it's also one of the best character introductions.
Yeah, that was an ass
Madara
whooping.
Had been built up endlessly before this fight happened. His statue was in the Valley of the End when Naruto fought Sasuke.
Correct.
Kurama mentioned him when Naruto and Sasuke fought again in Orochimaru's hideout. And Obito assumed Madara's name for a good portion of the series up to this point. So when I saw the real Madara summoned through Edo Tensei, my jaw hit the floor because I had no idea what this guy was actually capable of. And when he started fighting, I mean, there just really aren't any words for it. He kills like 12,000 people with taijutsu alone.
Yeah, he whips all their asses.
This guy throws a kunai at him with an explosive tag stuck to it, and Madara just. Then he busts out the biggest fire jutsu in the entire series. Then
yeah, that was spectacular.
He pulls out the Rinnegan.
This guy has a trick hat, and this trick hat is labeled epic shit, and he keeps on pulling out epic shit from this hat.
Yeah, that's a perfect explanation.
That's the way it is.
I mean, everything about the fight is perfect. The music is used incredibly well. Madara doesn't speak too much or too little. The characters' reactions are on point. But above all, Madara is just a complete goon. The only thing that keeps this fight from being higher up on the list is the lack of any emotional tension. Anybody watching this fight kind of forgets about the stakes entirely because of the fact that Madara is so cool that you begin to not care about how many people are dying. Seriously,
yeah,
Madara
no one really cared. We just cared about the ass whooping that he gave. That's all we cared about. Sasuke versus Itachi.
I
Okay.
have a lot of Sasuke fights to pick from for this entry, but the two it came down to were Sasuke versus Danzo and Sasuke versus Itachi. Now, obviously, I don't have to tell you which one I picked since you already know that. But many of you might be wondering why I chose Sasuke versus Itachi over all of Sasuke's other fights. The main reason for that is build-up. Now, as I mentioned in the last entry,
Good point,
Madara
and I
had
agree.
a lot of character build-up, but that doesn't even compare to the amount of build-up that this fight received. We've known about Sasuke's hatred for his older brother essentially since we met the kid, so this conflict had been building up essentially for the entire series up to this point. And after hundreds of episodes and hundreds of chapters, it finally happens, and the audience feels this massive amount of payoff. As somebody who started watching Naruto when it first started airing on Toonami over here in the States, I had been waiting for this fight for years, and I'm glad to be able to say that it lives up to all of the hype that the series gave it. It's kinetic, it's quick, it's emotional, it's tense, it's epic, the characters are creative, the music is well placed, the dialogue is well written, and, not to mention, this fight is where two of the coolest techniques in the entire series make their debut. Kirin and Susanoo. Can't get much better than that.
Great point. Number 1, let's see. Naruto versus Pain.
You know what? I know some people are gonna disagree with this choice.
I
like this fight. It's
Okay,
great.
I need to talk about it. Now, I don't know if it's number 1, but I'm so happy to put this on this list, and it deserves a round of applause because, like I said in past videos, the Pain arc is my favorite arc in all of Naruto. Everything about the fucking arc is brilliant, besides the ending with the Kaku no Jutsu bullshit from Naruto. But besides that, everything from the build-up to the climax is phenomenal. And the fight between Naruto and Pain was a beautiful climax with its beautiful violence. You know, everything about it, you know, the ending, the twists, you know, the presence that Pain presented with his godly kind of being, and Naruto being this hero. It was all beautifully done, beautifully executed, and I'm so glad he put this on this list. But let's continue.
When Naruto shows up, he's like,
Yeah, exactly.
He just goes like he's broken to pieces. And then the Pray to Path is like, I'm gonna steal your chakra. Then he gets turned into a frog, and then all the other paths of pain are like, what is going on? It's just like, you can't absorb too much sage energy. Naruto versus Pain is my favorite, and I know you may disagree, but
My pain.
I'm not mad with that choice. Alright, I think that's the end of it. Whoops, I clicked another video. Sorry about that. There you go. That was top 5 fights. I wish the video was longer. I wish you could have given more in-depth explanations of each choice. Maybe a top 10 video. But either way, it was a great video by Swagkage. And now I must give my own 2 cents on this matter. Alright, so here are a couple fights that must be amongst the greats, and I'm sure they're universally proclaimed as so. Rock Lee versus Gaara, definitely. There's just no question. Now, I know Swag didn't include Naruto and Sasuke fights, but the one in the Valley at the end, that one has to be on there as one of the all-time great fights. I agree. Naruto versus Pain is up there. I think Itachi versus Sasuke does make the cut. I think so. And if I had to put another one on there, maybe Zabuza versus Team 7 at the very beginning of Naruto. That could be up to. That was a very good fight in my opinion. But there are very numerous options besides that one. The one against the Sound 4 with Neji, Drunk Lee, where he fought Kimimaru. That's another good one. So there's a lot of good options. But yeah, ones that are always on my mind of all times are the Rock Lee versus Gaara. That one in particular is just so beautifully executed. The build-up, the drama, the beauty in the moment, you know, with the 8 gates, with Rock Lee kind of personifying this idea of never giving up, right? He doesn't have any ninjutsu or genjutsu at his disposal. But either way, even so, we get a beautiful display of ability from Rock Lee with his 8 gates debut, right? He goes all the way up to the 5 gates, and he takes on a seemingly invincible opponent at the time in Gaara, right? Gaara was this freak of nature prodigy kind of figure that was just demolishing everyone in the Chunin exams, and then Rock Lee comes in and surprises everybody with his gates, with his inner gates, and almost defeats the guy, right? I think everything about it, even the ending, you know, even though sad, it was all beautifully executed. That has to be up there, and not just in all-time great Naruto fights, but I think in anime fights in general. That's one of those that has to be in there. Now, the Itachi versus Sasuke one, that's an interesting one, right? The build-up is there. The build-up is there. The fight is very well done. I think we get a good taste of Itachi's deception, his ability to deceive you with his many solo genjutsus that he utilizes throughout that fight against Sasuke, right? Tricking him many times. And as we all know, I think we can all agree that Itachi could have won that fight if he wanted to, right? But either way, I think it was all beautifully done. I think, the poetic ending that it had definitely suited Itachi as a character. They gave him a good farewell, giving Sasuke that final touch on the forehead with his 2 fingers, right? That was also very beautifully done. A very emotional moment for many hardcore Naruto fans. I think I can safely say that. Now, the Naruto versus Pain one, that one, I might have to agree with Swag on it being the greatest fight ever. It's either that one or the Gaara and Rock Lee one. It's between those two in my opinion. Again, this is all opinion. We all have our opinions. But the Naruto versus Pain one, I don't think there's any other fight that hit me more emotionally, right? I think I was a teenager when I first saw it. There's no fight that hit me more emotionally than that one. And I think that's why me, and I'm sure Swagkage, many of you are so drawn to this fight, right? It's just everything about it. With Jiraiya's death, with that death in particular hitting me the hardest, maybe out of any other death in Naruto, right? He was the sensei of Naruto for such a long time. He was kind of like a father figure in a way to Naruto. Maybe a grandfather figure, if you want to take it that way. But with his death, with Pain's presence, with his intimidation factor, with him destroying the entire Leaf Village, Naruto's entrance was quite possibly one of the greatest anime entrances into battle that I've ever seen. The way he saved Tsunade's life, the way he responded to Sakura's yells and calls in this amazing way that he did. It really started off that fight very well. His huge improvement from pre-Pain arc to mid-Pain arc really helped that fight as well, right? With him learning Sage art, learning how to use Sage mode to the extent that he did, and really putting Pain on his toes for the first time in his life, right? Pain was this godly figure, and he was God basically up until that point, being the leader of the Akatsuki, being a top 2, top 3 Akatsuki member debatably, and just being a god to everybody's eyes at the time. With Naruto challenging him, being the first challenge he's ever had, we finally get to see the glimpse of what Naruto is supposed to become, right? He's supposed to become an all-time great shinobi, a future Hokage, and a legend. And that's what he did with that fight. I think he really cemented his legacy. And that was one of the fights where he first cemented his legacy, right? He defeated the leader of the Akatsuki, right? Me personally, though, the only thing that I didn't like was the Talk No Jutsu at the end. I kind of delegitimized it just a little bit, but either way, the Pain arc was flawlessly executed in my opinion. But then again, Kakashi would have stayed dead, right? So I guess it pays off because I really like Kakashi and I did not want to see him gone from the show like Jiraiya. We lost Jiraiya already. Maybe Kishimoto was like, hey, I don't want them to lose Kakashi also, so we got to bring him back. But not just the fight itself, but the speeches involved in that fight were spectacular. Pain's speech of justice, his philosophy on peace, and Naruto challenging his philosophy with his own. It was beautifully done. Despite the Talk No Jutsu, I guess I could say the philosophical discussions that were had in that fight and that encounter were beautifully done. So everything about it, the dialogue, the drama, the climax, and just the battle scenes and the animations themselves were beautiful. It was a beautiful arc and a beautiful fight overall. So now thinking about it deeply, I'd probably say Naruto versus Pain is the greatest fight in Naruto history. Rock Lee and Gaara was a beautiful moment, but there wasn't as much buildup and all that as there was for this one. This one was long in the waits, right? We were longing for this, right? And even the Itachi versus Sasuke one had a lot of great speeches as well. Itachi was quite the orator during his time alive, and even as an Edo Tensei, he had great speeches. So yeah, that's my take on these fights. I'm sure there's many fights that you guys think are the best of all time. Please let me know in the comments what you think. I definitely wanted to give you my take on this and kind of extend my discussion on it since this video is quite short. I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. I definitely wanted to give you guys my take on the greatest fights of all time and why I think they are the greatest fights of all times. But I think that's going to wrap it up. Thank you for this recommendation. A little short, it was an amazing video, and it definitely made me think on the greatest fights of all time within the Naruto-verse. But if you guys have any other recommendations, please let me know in the comments. I love you all. Thanks for all the support, and I'll catch you in the next video. This is Jither signing out. Peace.